Hi, everyone. Hi, everybody online. Thanks for logging in today. Hi, everyone in person. It's great to see you all. Just before we get started, I will be out of town next week, and Manisha will be here to sub. So you'll have a new body, a new face. Okay, but class will still happen on Tuesdays and Fridays at the same time. Okay. So with that announcement done and done, let's get started. Maybe this is your first time, maybe you're regular. Pretty much always start sitting or lying on your back with your knees bent. So giving yourself a moment to either find a nice, comfortable seat. If you're at home or your office, of course, you could sit in a chair if that is a little easier for your back and your hips. And then as you start to settle, just give everyone that gentle reminder that you have total agency and choice over your practice. And if something doesn't feel comfortable, it doesn't feel safe, please, without any judgment, let it go and back out of that pose or that exercise. All right? You don't need to, if you're in the room, you don't have to give me any explanation. Just most importantly, you are taking care of yourself. You want to feel safe, you want to feel supported. So with that, let's set up that place of grounding, giving yourself some time to draw your awareness and attention inward. You might find it helpful to feel the support of the floor, the earth beneath you. Knowing that the earth beneath you is really strong and stable. If you're feeling a little anxious today, a little unsteady, you can always put another hand or arm down on the floor to have another connection. So if you're sitting, you would add, your hand or your arm down. If you're lying down, you might just take both arms and create even more stable connection to the earth. And feeling what that stability from your body into the earth does for you. And then from a place of mindful self-compassion and curiosity, practice of, just trying not to say good or bad or right or wrong. So more curiosity, take some awareness into your body and check in with how you are feeling. And as we each check in, remember that you're feeling differently than I'm feeling, differently than the person next to you. Acknowledging, honoring, accepting how you're feeling. And then seeking out these places of resource, of strength, places that feel good in your body. And taking a moment to acknowledge those places, say hello. And you might also, with mindful self-compassion or kindness, and again, with curiosity, you might be noticing some places that don't feel super great. And taking some time to acknowledge and say hello, and some kindness into the places that might not be feeling quite as comfortable. And then the places that feel strong, those places of resource, and the places that don't feel so comfortable right now, let's just take a moment to settle and show some gratitude for all of that. Showing gratitude, some appreciation. We'll pause and take about 3 to 5 breaths. Feeling, noting your breath. Take one more inhale, one more exhale here. And then shifting some of your attention into that engaged breathing. So to review, engaged breathing is when we feel and we connect to the muscular structure of the abdominals when we inhale and exhale. So this might be brand new for you. So be patient. Exhaling, these abdominal muscles, there's 4 layers, they contract. And when you exhale, you might feel a little bit of like a deep hug. And then we want to try and feel some connection to the eccentric contraction. That's when the muscles feel long and the muscles get long when we inhale. And you might feel a little bit more control, like there's tone feeling when you exhale and tone feeling when you inhale. And this feels really different for all of us. So let's take maybe 3 to 5 breaths. And then some of the physical feelings you might feel is when you exhale, the ribs draw down and in. And when you inhale, you might feel the ribs expand. When you exhale, you might feel your navel draw down and that feeling of it like drawing towards your navel and scooping up a little bit. It's muscular. We'll take
Great. And then we're going to bring your right knee up over your right hip. Okay, so it will require more internal stabilization to not use your hands to hold your leg. If you want a little less challenge, you're going to hold the back of your leg. Okay, so you're going to bring your hands onto the back of the leg. More challenge, your arms stay down. Okay, and then we just bend and straighten the right leg about 5 times, waking up some of your awareness into your hamstrings. Okay, remember your hamstrings run from your sit bone to the back of your knee. And then we're going to do one more, and you'll take your heel up towards the ceiling and pause. You might have a little bend in your right knee. And then each one of us is going to just check in and feel the back of the leg into your pelvis, into your low back. And just, notice what you're feeling. And then push your heel a little more up to the ceiling and pull your toenails down. And see if you get a little more feeling through the back of your knee into your calf. And take an inhale and an exhale. And then bend your right knee and bring your foot to the floor. Take a free inhale, exhale to reset. And then bring your left knee up over your left hip, bend and straighten the left leg a few times. Noticing what you feel. So the practice of embodiment, we're trying to pay attention to what we feel as we move. The next time your leg is somewhat straightish, pause. Remember where your hamstrings run from your sit bone. So that butt bone all the way the length of the back of the leg to the knee. Then you could push your heel up a little more, pull your toenails down. That might give you a little different feel through your calf into your ankle, heel, foot. And then what we didn't do on the other side, with this side, see if you can soften through your chest and the throat and the jaw. Sometimes if your hamstrings are really tight, you'll feel some tension across your chest. So give yourself a moment to soften the chest, the throat, the eyes, and take a breath. And then bend your left knee and bring your left foot to the floor and give yourself 2 breaths. And then we're going to make sure that your heels can slide forward and pull back. So if you're on a mat and it's really sticky, you might pull your mat up a little bit. If you want to push and pull on your mat, you can. So you're still on your back in this constructive rest shape. Arms can come down by your sides. And we're just going to start with the right heel first. You're going to push that right heel down into the floor. And we're going to look for stretch and strength. So you're pushing the heel down and pushing the heel away. Pushing the heel down, pulling the heel back. Okay? So we're trying to keep nice and connected. Long, strong push out. Long, strong pull in. And you just do 5. Try to keep the pelvis heavy, back of the ribs down, the chest a little softer, the eyes a little softer. And bringing your right foot back to constructive rest. Take a free inhale, take an exhale, check in with yourself. Notice what you feel when you just start to push your left heel down. You just push your left heel down. What shifts? What changes? And then we push the heel down and push the leg out long. And we push the heel down and pull the leg back nice and strong all the way out and all the way back. Doing about 5. And then after 5, bringing the left leg back, coming back to that constructive rest shape for 2 or 3 breaths. Just again, notice what you notice. And with an exhale, bring your hands behind your head. Let your elbows come a little wide. Maybe the elbows float up towards the ceiling a little bit. All right, with an inhale and your exhale, back to engaged breathing awareness. So back to the abdominal awareness. And then when you feel your exhale, when you feel the ribs draw down and the navel draw towards your spine, you're going to lift your shoulders and your head and do a little sit up. And with an inhale, try to keep your pelvis really heavy and your rib cage really heavy to the floor as you lengthen and lower your head. So wait for your exhale, feel the ribs, feel the navel, and then lift up. Inhale, heavy pelvis and ribs, lengthen to lower the shoulders and the head. One more like that. So you're moving from the feeling of your breath. And then as you come back down, we'll take 2 breaths, keeping your hands behind your head, your elbows wide. And then we're going to press into your heels and slowly peel your lower back up into a bridge. And then vertebra by vertebra, roll back down. I'm going to do one more like that. So you're going to press into your heels. Peel vertebra by vertebra up into a little bridge and then lower back down. Okay, we're going to change it up. So listen carefully. We're going to roll up to your bridge, hold your bridge. Hold your bridge and do a little sit up. So when you exhale, lift your shoulders, look, pause. Keep your shoulders up and roll your bridge down. When you feel your tailbone land, then lower your shoulders and your head. Roll up to your bridge, pause. Little sit up, pause. Roll, release the pelvis back down. Lower the shoulders and the head. One more on your own. When you finish this one, coming back to that constructive rest shape, you can put your hands down by your side. We'll pause on your back here for about 3 to 5 breaths. Just noticing what you notice, giving yourself an opportunity to just pay attention to what comes up for you. Just noticing what's coming up and how you're responding. This is how we practice mindful self-compassion. Just pay attention to what's arising and how we're responding. And hopefully, we can start to practice responding with a little more kindness, a little more care for ourselves. 2 breaths. And then however you want to roll all the way on up to sitting, you might roll all the way up like a sit up. You might roll over. Ooh, we'll come on up to sitting. Fabulous. Let's bring your legs out in front of you and your arms just down by your sides. Okay, so this is going to give you a little bit of wrist work. Okay, so your hands can come a little bit behind your bum. Okay, and if this is really like, oh, my wrists don't like this, you can make fists. You can walk your hands forward or back. Okay, and then you're going to decide how much load or weight you want to put on your wrist. So you're going to shift the weight back a little bit or the weight forward a little bit. And you can go back and forth. Nice and strong fingers. Without looking at your fingers, you could probably feel your hands, fingers pressing down. You might even feel the texture of your mat or the carpet. Little bend. And then let's start the awareness back into the abdominals. So back into that engaged breathing feeling. So as you bend your elbows and you sit back a little bit, you get to open through the hip a little bit. And then as you pull yourself up, anchor into the abdominals to try and help you sit up. So your arm strength is going to connect with your core. So it's core through the back of the arm, tricep, down into your hands. 2 more. Then you're going to find just the right, correct shape right for you. And you're going to pick up your left knee and then lower it down. And then pick up your right foot knee and go side to side. I'm going to do just 3 on each side. Keeping your spine really, really steady, right? Try not to push the ribs forward, staying nice and anchored. And then we'll sit all the way on up. Shake out your wrists. All right, so a little more challenging in this series. You sit back with your arms in front of you, okay? So if your arms are back here, it's going to help stabilize you more so than if your arms are out here, okay? So you pick where you're at. They're different. Maybe you want to do a little bit of both, okay? So you sit back, engaged core. Ooh, shoulders soften out of your ears. And then again, we just start to pick up one leg at a time. If you want more challenge, you pick up the left leg and the right arm. And you go side to side. More challenging, you stick your legs together and you pick up both. Right? And maybe you pick up your legs and your arms together. Okay? Everybody has a place that they're going to work. We're going to do this for, I don't know, 5-10 more seconds. Rest when you need to rest. And when you need to rest, you'll come up and hug your legs. Keep going if you want more challenge. And if you're tired, go ahead, sit up, wrap your arms around your thigh or shin bones, and breathe through your back. And then when you're ready, we'll all meet in this shape for about 5 breaths. It's giving yourself a moment to anchor into your sit bones, lengthening up through your back with your breath, noticing what you notice for about 3 more breaths. And then feeling your exhale, say hello to your exhale. And then we'll stand all the way on up. So figuring out how you want to come on up to standing. And then we can step our feet about hip width. Arms can hang. So giving yourself a moment to build your standing mountain meditation, standing a little more with ease, but not so easeful that we don't feel strong. So there's this balance, this connection of strength and ease as we stand for 3 breaths. And then bringing your hands up into your hip creases. So let's just warm up a little bit more. You want to take your hands into your hip creases and feel your hip creases push back as you anchor into your heels. And so we're going to gently get into the low back and the hamstrings, okay? If you have really tight hamstrings, bend your knees here, okay? So you're taking your hip creases back, which gives the hamstrings and the low back more freedom to tip forward. We'll just do 1 more. When you tip over this time, you're going to decide how far you want to tip. Maybe you're bringing your shoulders level with your hips a little more like a table. Maybe you're a little more projected where your shoulders are going to be a little bit higher, okay? We're all different, so find that place and then anchor into your heels. And with awareness, shift the weight from your heels so it's a little more balanced into the balls of the feet. Okay, now find your sit bones. So those are your back butt bones there. And you're going to start to lift your sit bones up out of your heels, which are going to give your hamstrings a little bit of a stretch. Now, you don't want it to be too much. So this is a lesson in learning how to listen. And then you're going to bend your knees quite a bit and come back to kind of like a low squat feel. And you're going to lift your sit bones back up and go sit bones lifting up out of heels. Last one, let your sit bones come down. And then this time you're going to pull your sit bones up. Maybe tip your shoulders over farther, farther, farther. Maybe you start to touch the floor. Maybe you bend your knees even more. So maybes are all adjustments that we do from listening. We're listening to the hamstrings. We're listening to our low backs. And then we're adjusting. So if it's really tight, we're bending the knees to get a little more into the core. Bring your weight forward in the balls of the feet. 2 breaths. And then with an exhale, slowly come all the way back up to that standing shape. And just give yourself 3 breaths. Okay, find your left leg, pat your left leg. All right, so your left leg's gonna swing forward a little bit. And then we're gonna swing the left leg all the way back and build a high lunge. Okay, so when you build your high lunge, check in that your left heel is lifted. It's nice and high. Hands come to your hips. Okay, we talk a lot about symmetry. So ears naturally going over shoulders, shoulders a little more over your hips. You decide, you're gonna push this left thigh bone back and you're gonna decide how far you wanna bend your right knee and pause. So you're building this high lunge. Then we're gonna fold over, just like we did with both legs in that standing table or standing table shape. Push your hip creases back, tip, and come back up. One more time. Right hip crease draws back. Maybe you come forward, more like projected shoulders. Maybe you're taking your shoulders lower, 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 more like a tabletop. Pause. If you want a little different challenge, bring your fingertips together underneath your sternum heart. And you decide how far you're going to bend that right knee, taking the shin forward. Keep your back heel lifted. 2 breaths. Soften your shoulders. Push into the floor. Come all the way back up. Step both feet together. 3 breaths. Anybody else's heart rate going super fast? Woo! We didn't really even do much. Like what? Those big muscles make us breathe heavy, breathe fast. Right leg goes forward, right leg swings back. Woohoo! Right heel lifts, right? So we're using really big, deep, strong core connectors here, okay? So pelvis, take your right thigh bone back. Check it's not too much. This left hip crease pushes back and we tip over. And then we come back up one more time. So pelvis goes forward first. Pelvis, ribs, shoulders, head. Pick where you want to be. Maybe your shoulders are coming way, way over. Maybe you're a little bit lifted up higher. Shoulder blades on your back. Lots happening. So get your legs set. Feel your shoulder blades on your back, your chest open, 2 breaths. And then come all the way back up. Step both feet together. Great. Turn to face the front of your mat so you can walk to the back of your mat and face the front. Take a full moment just to settle, to notice your experience. Exhale, arms sweep out to come up. Bend your knees as much as you need. Hip creases draw back. And we lengthen and fold. We were here earlier. Remember, we paused to really listen to the hamstrings and the low back. So bend your knees. Bring the weight into the balls of the feet a little more. Maybe press the feet down and pull your sit bones up. And then with an exhale, we're going to walk your hands out and build downward facing dog. So you can always come to tabletop or child's pose. You can also always use a table or a chair. So bend your knees pretty deep for this first one and pull the hip creases back. We all know where those hip creases are. We can all feel the hip creases to the sit bones. Pull back, 2 breaths. And then exhale, tabletop. Let your knees come down. So a little more work now in your upper back. Find your shoulder blades. So if you need to move them around, you can. And then imagine your shoulder blades pressing down through your rib cage. So you want to put your shoulder blades on your back. Glue your shoulder blades on your back. And then take a breath. And when you take your nice deep inhale, see if you can feel your rib cage rise to the shoulder blade. So don't move the shoulder blade. That's going to contribute to upper back strength and stability. If you want more challenge, straighten your legs and go to straight arm plank. If you need less challenge, stay in your tabletop and maybe float your knees up. 5 breaths. Now just let your knees come down and feel your upper back shoulder blade connection, because we're going to try and feel this when we stand up. Okay. So from here, downward facing dog. If you're skipping dog, that's fine. With our exhales, we're going to figure out how to come on up to standing. So we will all meet back up in a standing mountain. And we'll take a moment to take about 3 breaths. All right, let's put the upper back part in with the hip part, in with the strength of the abdominal part. Then we'll see what happens. So find your left leg, right? You're gonna swing it forward again, and then swing it back into your high lunge. I have water and I always feel I'm gonna kick that water over. So come back to this shape, pause. Remember, you want your heel to stay high. So without looking back at your left heel, can you feel it nice and high? And then your thigh bone pushes back and your shin comes forward. Gives you a little groin hip flexor stretch. Great. And then your arms, hands can come together here. You decide, hip creases tip back. You're going to tip how far you pick. Remember your tabletop feel, your plank feel. See if you can come and feel some tabletop and plank. If you want a lot more challenge, start the balance. Start to come forward and maybe lift your left leg up a little bit. Just a little bit. It's okay to wobble. Just notice how your mind, how your voice, how your body responds. And then we meet back in high lunge. And we step the feet together. Woohoo, 5 breaths. Coming back to your breath. As you come back to your breath, find 1 or 2 things you're really grateful for. And just take a moment to acknowledge that gratitude. Letting your eyes open. Patting your right leg. It's nice. Sometimes when you practice gratitude, you forget that your hips are burning. Right foot steps back, right? I solely did that because my hips were burning. And I was like, I bet if I practice gratitude in 3 breaths, they won't burn as much. So right leg steps back. You don't get to see your right heel. Keep your right heel lifted. Right thigh bone pushes back. That left shin comes forward to give you some groin, hip flexor. Good. Left hip crease tips back. Hands come together. Can you feel rebuild? Remember the muscle memory of your tabletop plank. From a place of a little more softness and ease. Maybe you stay here. You start to shift the weight and lift your right back leg. We go slow on purpose so that we can start to feel the deeper nuances of poses, of transitions. We can also start to really pay attention to how we personally respond to those nuances. That's why we go slow. back to your high lunge, and then stepping your feet together. Just whatever you notice. Can you notice it from a place of curiosity? Place of inquiry, compassion, kindness. And give yourself 2 exhales. And then letting your eyes open. And then turn, we'll walk to the back of your mat. Here we go. Exhale, arms sweep out to come up. Bend your knees, pull your hip creases back, long spine folding. If you can't touch the floor, it doesn't mean you're not good at yoga. You can put your hands on your thigh bones. Notice your experience. All of us bend our knees. Let your shins come forward. Bend as deep as you feel safe bending. Now, anchor into the balls of the feet and the heels and pull your sit bones up. Pull your sit bones up gently out of your heels to get the hamstrings. When you feel the hamstring engage through the back of the knee and the calf, pause. Inhale. Gonna feel your sternum. Reach forward, lift up, lift the chest. And then again, you build like a tabletop, a plank. Can you feel those shoulder blades really strong on the back? Exhale, walk your hands out to your downward facing dog, your tabletop or your child's pose, just 3 breaths. Exhale, we got to lower all the way down onto your belly. So you could come to plank or tabletop. Try and get down on your belly with control and strength. Okay, hands are going to rest right by your lower ribs. And all of you without a mic on can get your foreheads really close to the floor with your noses. So you're going to get your nose and your forehead as close to the floor as you can. You're going to relax and release through the chest. And feel 2 breaths through your back. And then with some awareness in your back body, pulling your toes. So feel your toes. Can you pull your toes out of your earlobes? So your legs are really active, stretching, pulling back. Okay. Front of the pelvis is going to push into the floor. And without compressing your low back too much, lift your thigh bones up off the floor. Navel to spine. Lift your chest. Exhale, lower down. One more time, not slow. Pubic bone into the floor. Navel to spine. Reach the toes, lift the thigh bones. Soften the shoulders, lift the chest. Lower down. If that is enough back bending for you today, rest. If you want 3, 4, 5 more, then inhale, it all lifts up. Exhale, it all comes down. Following your own breath. Trying to keep the shoulders soft out of your ears. Posterior back body strength. And then maybe 1 more. And then we all come down, put your hands under your forehead and rest. Give yourself about 5 breaths. And then noticing what you're noticing. Reminding yourself of curiosity and kindness. And then we'll plant your hands back again by your lower ribs. Okay, now options. You could press up to tabletop. You could press up to plank. You could push up to down dog. You could push to child's pose. You could do 15 quick push-ups, right? You have options. So challenge yourself, right? Resting might be your challenge, right? You might feel it's kind of a challenge to slow down. We'll take about 20, 25 seconds here just to do your thing. Maybe it's down dog, pushing up, resting. And then in about 5 breaths, we're going to come to a nice, comfortable seated shape. So you might have crisscross applesauce. You might have your legs out in front of you or sitting back. So we'll just make our way. Whew. All right, so if we rock a little bit side to side, you can feel those sit bones. So sit bones anchoring down like deep, wide roots. Now, if your thigh bones are way up here and you're at home, you could grab some blocks or blankets and support them, okay? So finding your belly button, we're gonna try and keep your belly button, pretty much forward. And then find your rib cage. Kind of long, takes up a lot of space. So the rib cage spins to the right, but not the belly button so much. And then the rib cage spins all the way around to the left, but not the belly button so much, okay? So twisting here. Thoracic spine rotation. Little deeper challenge, keep your ribs down and in. It's really easy for some of us to twist and then push the ribs forward, okay? So we'll do 3 more to each side. Going at your own pace. Trying to keep equal weight in your sit bones. And then we'll come back to center. Let your arms come down, hands onto the earth if that works. I have long arms, so it's easy for me. If it's not easy for you, let your hands rest on your thigh bones and take 5 breaths. Just coming back to feeling the strength of the earth beneath you. To feel your body connect to that strength. Plug yourself in. And then from this place, either staying right here or if you prefer lying on your back. So you can come all the way back to the shape you started in, or you can stay sitting, totally your choice. We always take the last few minutes just for breathing, relaxing, coming back into our bodies with our breath. So if you're comfortable sitting, fabulous. If you want to lie back and put a hand on your heart space and then one on your lower belly, this is a nice way to connect the breath a little more from your chest into your lower abdominal belly area. Just letting your hands feel open and empty. Your hands are simply there to receive your breath. And then regardless of the shape you're in, we'll all come inward and see if we can feel 5 breaths. Can you pay attention and follow 5 breaths? And reminding yourselves that minds naturally wander. So if your mind naturally wandered away from those 5 breaths, you're pretty normal. Doesn't mean you're not good at it. It just means that your mind wandered. And then taking a deep inhale and a deep exhale. And coming back into those places of resource in your body. Remember when we started and we came in and we felt and honored and noticed those places of resource? Give yourself a moment to come back to those places of resource. Showing gratitude for those places of resource. And then with your next exhale, maybe you draw your knees into your chest or do a full body stretch. So kind of just let your body choose which shape. Maybe it wants a little bit of both of those. And then we'll slowly make our way all the way back on up to sitting. And then when you get up, let's interlace your hands out in front and sweep your arms up and just do a little side bend. Thanks everyone and happy Friday. I hope you have a wonderful week and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care. Thanks everybody.